Okay, so now that we have official candidates for each party, the general election typically begins after the party conventions, when we actually have a Democratic candidate and a Republican candidate. And there will be other candidates as well, but those are the two primaries at this point in time. The national election is always the Tuesday after the first Monday in November to avoid any confusion. It makes it very specific. In order to win the presidency, it is the only election where you have to win a majority as opposed to a plurality. Majority meaning one more than half, plurality being just the most votes. And you have to win that of the Electoral College. So let's talk a little bit about the Electoral College. Again, majority means one more than half. Plurality is you just get more votes than the other candidates. Every other election, we typically use a plurality vote. In the Electoral College, each state has the same number of electoral votes as their congressmen, so their number of representatives plus their senators. So let's say a state has 21 electoral votes. Well, then we know that it has a relatively strong population because that means it has 19 representatives in the House of Representatives, and that is based on population. Again, Senate equal representation across the board, so 2 per state. So each state has the same number of electoral votes. So it is, to some extent, democratic in application because it is based on the population. There are 435 members of the House of Representatives. There are 100 senators, and then since the 1950s, Washington, D.C., which is not a state, and previous to that time had not had a say in who became president. There was a constitutional amendment that gave Washington, D.C. 3 electoral votes. So we have 538 total electoral votes possible. You divide that by 2, you get 269. You need one more than half, so 270 wins. And I make a big point about that because you will hear it in the news all the time. And people try to calculate various combinations that would get a president to the presidency. Certainly, candidates are spending money in states that they think that they can get the most bang for their buck. They are probably not spending a lot of money in states that have 3 electoral votes as opposed to states that have 14, 18, 20, 22, and then obviously the big states, Texas and California, although those are primarily set in stone the way they vote, not always, but pretty much. Okay, all of the states except for 2, Maine and Nebraska, select electors based on a winner-take-all. So whatever the popular vote in that state is, the winner of the popular vote of that state gets all of the electoral votes for that state. In Maine and Nebraska, they take the popular vote of the state and assign the 2 that would be equivalent to the Senate representation, and then every other elector goes with the popular vote of the district, because each representative, as you remember, represents a district, so it would be the district vote. So in those 2 states, there is a possibility that there would be a split in the Electoral College votes. Technically, the electors don't vote until December. Hopefully, this website will work real quick. They have changed it, which makes me sad. This is a really cool website that you will be assigned to work with. I want to go right here to the historical interactive map because I think it's really interesting. You can look at the Electoral College outcome throughout history, assuming it will go. So here are the election results. Notice Michigan has 17 electoral votes here. Oops. Where'd you go? And if I go back, in 2008 we had 17. We have since had redistricting, and I believe 2012 was the first time we went down to 14 representatives, so we have 16 electoral college votes. Remember when we did the reapportioning of representation when we were studying the House of Representatives? That also has an impact on the power of each state to elect a candidate. So like I said, Texas 38, California 55, but you'll notice Michigan's relatively powerful actually, Illinois, Ohio 18, Pennsylvania, New York, Florida. Some of these states are what we call battleground states. Some of these states, oh, this is pretty cool addition that they have to this website too. Oh, that wasn't the place. Sorry. When you get into this, and you will be working with this, there is a place that will show you how long the state, oh, my computer is not liking this website right now, how long those states have voted consistently for, oh, I want the drop down, that makes it easier, yes. See, you can just click there. That was the outcome in 2012. Let's look at like a landslide. Holy moly, did Reagan win? Now notice when you use this website also that the Electoral College votes are listed and the popular vote. Let's notice something about the 2000 election. Notice that Al Gore won the popular vote but lost the presidency. That is possible, but look at how close the Electoral College votes are. This was the election that came down to Florida. Okay, I digress. Let's get out of here. Oops. Okay, back to the information. So the votes are cast in December. They are counted in January. There are generally no surprises at that point. What, you might ask, what if no one wins a majority? The election then goes to the House of Representatives, where each state has one vote. That has happened twice in history. As soon as the November election happens, we will call the winners President-elect, Vice President-elect. It is at the same time, Barack Obama this year will be lame duck after the election. We know that he cannot win. He has term limited himself out. So Barack Obama will be lame duck at the same time that, say, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or Mike Huckabee or whomever wins the election in November. They will be the president-elect and the vice president-elect. My screen doesn't show that very well, but inauguration is always January 20th at noon. It's when they transfer power. There are a couple quick issues with the Electoral College that I wanted to show you. I already pointed this out. One of the things that people complain about and that you're going to do some research on is that it is possible to win the popular vote and lose the election due to the Electoral College. It's happened 4 times, and I'm going to have you look into those 4 times. There is nothing in the Constitution or in any federal law that requires the electors to vote for the candidate that wins the popular vote in their state. There are, however, state laws, and Michigan has some, and I'm going to have you look those up. But you need to understand that the party chooses the electors for their state, and so the people that are chosen to be electors are hardcore party loyalists that are often elected officials themselves, and it would be political suicide to cross party lines. So it doesn't happen very often. We already talked about that. There are a couple of proposals to change out there in the world would be to link the electors to the outcome of the district popular vote. This is exactly what Nebraska and Maine do. And eliminate the Electoral College, but that would take a constitutional amendment, and I want you to consider whether you would support that And what would you require? A majority of the popular vote, a plurality of the popular vote? There need to be some nuances there. Finally, just a couple of quick cites. Here is the information on Michigan's Electoral College law that does not allow them to, they must vote in line with the popular vote. And then there is also this site that gives you a sense of the few times that somebody has crossed over and the logic behind it. Okay, I have some assignments that are related to this. I hope this was a good review.